The New York Times has found that one of the potential safety failures on the Boeing 737 jet could have to do with the fact that there are issues with the sensor. So the sensor might indicate that the nose of the plane is tilted too high up in a dangerous fashion, and so it'll force the nose of the plane to go down. And apparently there are two safety features that the plane could be equipped with, but unfortunately they're not automatically equipped with it. Individuals or pilots or airlines have to actually pay money, additional money, in order to include them on the plane. So Boeing's optional safety features could have helped the pilots detect any erroneous readings. One of the optional upgrades, the angle of attack indicator, displays the readings of the two sensors. The other, called a disagree light, is activated if those sensors are at odds with one another. But again, the planes don't automatically have this. It's not a default feature on the plane. It's something that the airline companies would have to pay additional money for, even though they are safety features.
Yeah, I want to make an important note about that. Look, you've all had some experience with buying cars, leasing cars, etc. And you know the things that are optional. Hey, you know what? I can get a different kind of hubcaps that are a little cooler, right? And
some 20-inch rims.
Whatever that is, that's right, okay? I'm not a car guy, as you can tell. I never get any of those, I'm not interested.
Did you say I can get the cool hubcaps or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, boy, does that give you a sense of how I'm not a car guy. Okay, so, but if they said to you, here's a great car, and it's a wonderful price, and they left out, now there's a bunch of options you can get, the hubcaps or the rims or whatever. And one of the options is brakes. No, that's not an option.
Right.
Right, that's not optional, right? And so in this case, the safety features were optional. You had to pay extra. Now think about it. Look, I don't know, and I don't know if I'm being unfair here, but the two planes that crashed were in countries that don't have great economies. I don't know if they couldn't afford the extra options on the planes, right? And so, but if one of the options is directly related to whether the plane will crash, that's not optional.
So I need to jump in, because it doesn't matter whether or not the airline company flying the plane is from a rich country or a poor country, because we have several airline companies based in the United States, and when it comes to corporations, companies, what is their number one motive? What is it?
Can I guess profit?
It's profit. So the New York Times did a great breakdown where they asked specific airline companies here in the United States, hey, did you pay for the extra features? United Airlines did not pay for the extra features. So it's just something to keep in mind. It doesn't matter if it's a rich country or a poor country, but more importantly, these should not be optional features. But the reason why they are able to make them optional features is because of the way things are regulated. So for instance, neither safety feature is mandated by the Federal Aviation Administration. And that is an issue, because this is something that could have potentially, and I want to be clear, we don't know for certain yet what the issue was with these planes. They're pretty certain, but it hasn't been 100% confirmed yet, so I want to be clear about that. But if this is the issue, and this safety feature was not automatically included in these planes because there's a profit motive here, I mean, it gives you a sense of where the priorities are. What is the role of the government? What is the main core role of the government? It is to keep its people safe. And that is not what's happening right now. And just quickly, sorry for interrupting you, going back to what you said about cars, Cenk. Look, there are certain safety features that are automatically included in a car, and that's because of regulations, right? So you have the seat belts. Obviously, Ralph Nader had to fight for that, but you have the seat belts. You have the rear view mirror. You have the side mirrors. Those things are not optional, they're included. However, there have been, as of late, with technological advancements, some safety features that are not included in every car, and I think that they should be. So there's the backup camera. That is a safety feature that should be included in every car, especially
for a guy like me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So those types of things.
By the way, if you want to hear the stories of how many people at the Young Turks I've crashed into in parking lots, sign up to become a member, where we talk about it in the post games. tyt.com/join.
Yeah.
By the way, that is the one optional thing I got in my car. I'm like, oh, that camera, I need that. And the thing that's you can magically see from the sky. Okay, I'm like, you throw that one in. Okay, anything that helps me see around the parking lot, I'm in.
Right, but again, those things shouldn't be add-ons. They should be included in the vehicle.
Yeah, look, you know, if you've ever flown Spirit, you know that everything's an add-on, right? Like, oh, you're gonna bring on a purse. I'm gonna charge you for that. Oh, you brought on your left arm. I'm gonna charge you for that, right? But if they said to you, hey, if you're gonna fly at Spirit, it's also optional whether the sensors work. And if the sensors don't work, the plane could crash. No matter how cheap you are, you're not getting on that plane, right? And I don't know the planes of Spirit. I don't, so I want to be clear about that. I just use them as an extreme example of they'll charge you for anything and they'll make everything optional. But safety is the one thing that cannot be optional.
Right, exactly. It's not about the aesthetics, it's not about comfort, it's about keeping people alive in cases of emergencies. Now, Boeing has responded to some of this. They have started moving on the software fix. So apparently there was an issue with the software and the equipment change before the crash in Ethiopia. Now remember, the crash in Ethiopia was the more recent one that happened on March 10th. 5 months earlier, there was the Lion Air crash that occurred. And so after that, Boeing decided to do the software update and also include some of these safety features into the planes.
Now remember, the FAA in America did not ground the Boeings for a number of days when all the other countries had. I mean, the Mongolian Airlines had grounded these Boeings, et cetera. But that's called regulatory capture, where there's a revolving door and the people that work in the industry, first of all, that work at the FAA, first of all, are appointed by politicians who get campaign contributions from the industry. Second of all, those officials then go work in the industry and make a lot of money and then go back into the government. That's the revolving door aspect of it. So even though two planes had crashed, the same model, obviously there's some issue here at a bare minimum. For a number of days, the FAA was like, I don't see any problems. No, I don't see any issues at all. And now Boeing's coming out and saying, oh yeah, we got to fix the software. And obviously you've got we now find out in this story that the safety features were not already built into the plane, they were extras. So how wrong was the FAA? And they were adamant for those number of days when they were saying that. Why would you be that adamant against, in the face of obvious facts? Because you got captured by the industry you're supposed to regulate, and that makes us all a lot less safe, especially in the case of planes.
And finally, I have to give you other examples of optional safety features, and it just gives you a sense that profit over human lives continues to take priority. So Boeing charges extra for a backup fire extinguisher in the cargo hold. Past incidents have shown that a single extinguishing system may not be enough to put out flames that spread rapidly through the airplane. Regulators in Japan require airlines there to install backup fire extinguishing systems, but the FAA does not.
Boeing also makes wings optional.
No, they don't.
I'm kidding, but I mean, it's so crazy that it's almost like that way. But okay, that actually leads to my final point, which is that a couple of days ago, it was revealed that the FAA let Boeing self-regulate some of these safety features. And guess what? It turns out they decided that that their self-regulation did not require them to spend more money on safety. Oops. So to all the libertarians out there, how could you possibly think that self-regulation would work? Obviously, they're gonna cut corners to maximize profit.
Well, look, I think that you're really failing libertarians in making that argument, because the free market will decide, right? Because we have a lot of options. Right now, there are two major companies that make these airplanes. There's Boeing and then there's Airbus in Europe. So just let the free market decide.
Yeah, and
there's a lot of competition.
And I know what the libertarians are gonna say, like, hey, but the Boeings are grounded and so there's consequences, et cetera. That doesn't help the people on those airlines in Ethiopia and Indonesia. They're already dead. They never had a choice. So that is why the corporations look out for themselves and their profits, and you guys understand that, everybody gets that. And the government is supposed to look out for us, because they're our representatives. And when you let industries regulate themselves, what do? They do, in fact, legally, they must maximize profit. So they of course don't care about the citizens. They don't care as much about safety. They care about the bottom line. So when the government abdicates its responsibility, this is what happens. Thanks for watching this free clip of the Young Turks. Don't forget to become a TYT member today. For more exclusive content, join now at tyt.com/join.